What is the best movie that you've ever seen? Whatever it is, I assure you that it has no chance in hell of competing with this movie. A movie crafted with such timeless artistry that it will be praised for generations to come. A movie so perfectly conceived and put together that it can't be fully experienced by human senses. That movie, of course, is Wolf Trace's Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island is, in my opinion, a hidden gem in the so bad it's good category, and it's somehow fallen under the radar of all the good bad movie reviewers on this site. It has a B-grade script, uninvested voice actors,
yeah, great time, great time, great time, great time,
and some of the worst animation I've ever seen. But despite all that, it has an amount of charm and hilarity that makes it worth watching. And to top it all off, it has a weird-ass backstory. The film is directed by Colin Slater, a man who, according to IMDb, has produced thousands of hours of television and won a Grammy, and yet the only things present on his IMDb are Dinosaur Island and Rhapsody Street Kids Believe in Santa, which I assure you are both cinematic marvels. There's not much information about Colin post-2004. The only platforms I can find him on which he's at least somewhat active, are his Twitter and his YouTube. On Twitter, he mostly just retweets random stuff, and on YouTube, he uploads some of the strangest, most cryptic videos I've ever been witness to. And as if to add to that, he viewbots them. For example, 300,000 views and 12 likes. I'm sorry, but that just doesn't happen. And then he goes on and talks about his views on Twitter. Dude, we can see what you're doing. Colin was the executive producer of the Wolf Tracer group, which seemingly made a whole bunch of these movies. Their website is obviously taken down now, but by going to a Wayback Machine archive, you can see more of their movies, which include Art of Darkness, Not Quite Right, and Junk Bots. Okay, so with this Da Vinci Code of a backstory established, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this glorious masterpiece.
Come on, Smiley. Over here. Hungry? Eat this. Drat.
As you would expect, the movie starts with the opening credits. Luke from Star Wars is in this movie. The lead actor from one of the most iconic series of all time is in Wolf Trace's Dinosaur Island. Well, at least now we know where they put that $800,000 budget. So we start off with our three heroes, Troy, Blake, and Jack, on what the movie's description calls a luxury yacht, on a tour led by Captain Bud, whose accent changes every 2 seconds.
No pox here, Mr. Jack. We're far from safe harbor.
Anyway, these four are out in the middle of the ocean, and then after a bit of ham-handed exposition, a storm hits. This guy is dragged into the sea, the entire boat goes through a random portal, and Captain Bud disappears. The ship is then hit by a huge wave that sinks it, and the screen turns to black. And then Blake wakes up washed up on a beach. The camera pans over to reveal that Troy was apparently standing here the entire time.
Where am I?
Where are we?
It's kind of a recurring thing with this character. She always feels the need to correct people. In the writer's attempts to make her feel smart, they successfully created the most annoying and unlikable character in the known universe. So Smarty Pants and Blake find Jack, build a shelter, effortlessly climb up a vertical cliff face, and find the remains of a bunch of ships. We then get to witness a full scholarly lecture.
That's impossible.
You mean improbable. We know it's possible. What we don't know is how. Yet.
But
if you eliminate the impossible, whatever's left, no matter how improbable, is the truth.
So they just kind of leave after this and go back to the shelter, which they find has been eaten by none other than a big old Dino! And then Jack provides some comic relief, which he's done in every situation in the movie so far.
What do you think you're doing? Jack! Give that back!
Jack,
Hello? He's eating our house!
who's eating our house?
What do you mean, who? Him? That big dinosaur?
Say that again.
That big dinosaur! Ah!
The dinosaur walks away, and they decide not to build another shelter and just sleep on the beach. The next day, they just walk around the island for no reason. They walk into a field and there's a Triceratops, which they, for no reason whatsoever, just assume is good. But then some raptors attack. So they defend the Triceratops that they just met for no reason other than it looks cute. Troy tries to use the flare gun that they inexplicably have. It locks up,
Rat.
so she, and I shit you not, roundhouse kicks one of the raptors in the face, knocking it completely over. She then jumps onto another and leaps up a rock her entire body length from a standing position. I mean, realistically here, she doesn't even need to hide from the raptors at this point. She's a one-man army. Come to think of it, this movie kind of rips off the dynamic that you see in something like Harry Potter and completely ruins it. For starters, this girl is absolutely amazing at everything she does. Nothing seems to challenge or scare her in the slightest. Whereas Hermione was the smart, capable one for sure, but she wasn't an immortal, untouchable being. She had flaws and shortcomings. This retard is the comic relief character of the movie, and nothing else. Literally the only purpose he serves is to crack shitty one-liners at every opportunity he gets, at the expense of having any real character. The designers chose to make his head bigger than everyone else's. They probably thought it would make him look funnier or more charming. It doesn't. In contrast, Ron was the goofy one of the three, but when things got serious, so did he, which made him feel like an actual person rather than a caricature. This guy's main trait is that, well, he has none. This guy's my least favorite out of the three. He is the husk of a man, devoid of anything that makes a character feel human. The other two might not feel that human either, but at least they have their tropes. This guy could not even be here, and the plot would pretty much function the exact same. Anyway, some more shit goes down, they make a fire, and the mother dinosaur comes in and saves them. I really don't care, moving on. This guy falls down a hole because plot, and then some pterodactyls attack the other two because plot. There's a chase scene, and then the goofy guy gets taken by a pterodactyl. He spouts some jokes.
I'm not even tasty! Especially now!
And then Troy, who as far as we know has had no firearm training, lands a perfect aerial headshot on the moving pterodactyl.
That should do it.
The guy has a lol funny moment where he falls on his nuts and gets a wedgie. He's about to fall into a group of raptors, but it turns out that Troy was able to find the dinosaur from earlier, tame it, and ride over here to save him, all within the space of 1 minute and 20 seconds. They meet up with Skywalker, who found some cave paintings or something. They end up coming across this washed up pirate ship and find a diary that has entries from a bunch of different time periods. And we're greeted by a gravity-defying pterodactyl. Now, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, mostly because I didn't have anywhere else to put it in the script. There are so many shots where the perspective defies reality, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, just look here, the pterodactyl is flying straight up. And to top it off, the character animations are some of the most glorious that I have ever witnessed, especially when there are multiple characters on screen, since it seems like the animator only ever wants to animate one thing at a time, and just does the laziest possible thing with all the others. To show this, I've made a compilation of some of the more atrocious animation.
2 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I like good pussy and I like good trees. Smoke so much weed you wouldn't believe. And I get more ass than a toilet seat. 3 to the 1, from the 1 to the 3. I met a bad bitch last night in the D. Let me tell you how I made her leave with me. Conversation and Hennessy.
Then a dinosaur attacks them for a bit and runs away. They walk around for a bit, find some guy that's been stalking them the whole time, or something. They find a bunch of buildings that are covered in these runes that the girl can read because apparently she's a historian or something. They get attacked by another couple dinos and bait them into fighting a T-Rex, which I don't know where they got that idea from, but yeah. Anyway, they walk a bit more and find this masked guy who zaps their dinosaur and makes a run for it. So they chase him down and end up getting caught by a whole village of masked people. The comedian makes a run for it and the other two are tied up in the center of the village. It turns out that the leader somehow has a horn that he uses to control the dinosaurs. I'm not even going to question this one. Moving on. And then, out of nowhere, out of completely nowhere, it's revealed that Mark Hamill's character has been plagiarizing the historian girl's work 3/4 into the movie for absolutely no reason other than, I guess, building up a bit more tension. Then the random guy from earlier gives them a knife to cut themselves free, which I honestly think is the only reason he's in this movie. He doesn't really do or say anything else that's significant. He is just here for this one single plot device and nothing else. Then Jack uses a fishing rod that he somehow got to hook the horn, but it doesn't really matter because the dinosaurs just do what the leader wants anyway and give the horn back to him. I don't know either. I'm just as lost as you are. And then, during the dramatic climax of this 40-minute epic, we get the most mind-blowing twist of all time. It turns out the leader of the village is actually the captain from the boat in the beginning. And his name isn't actually Captain Bud, it's Captain Blood.
The name is Blood. Captain Blood.
After this game-changing reveal, the girl cuts herself loose and runs away, while Captain Blood shares some exposition. Here we learn that the diary they found in the ship earlier was his, and he can time travel for some reason, but I don't think anyone cares at this point. Just fast forwarding a bit, the girl comes back with a bunch of the Triceratops from earlier that fight the bad ones. This goes on for a bit and ends with Captain Blood running away and teleporting into another time or something. Which begs the question, if Captain Blood at this point has unlocked all the secrets of space and time to the point where he can freely travel through it and is able to do anything he wants, then why is he taking random people on boat tours only to trap them on this island and kill them? What does he stand to gain from that? His motivations are so unclear. Anyway, let's get this movie over with it. So with Captain Blood gone, our heroes go to the shore to build a raft and get off the island. Why they didn't do this in the first place, I don't know. These two just suddenly forget that he's been stealing her work for years and decide all of a sudden that they have a love connection, which was never hinted at any point in the movie beforehand. They say goodbye to their dino friends and are about to leave when Captain Blood returns with his T-Rex. And then it ends. That's it. The movie just ends with the T-Rex standing over them, and then a to be continued. So that's it. That's Wolf Trace's Dinosaur Island, the greatest cinematic experience of all time. I wouldn't say it's on the same level of unintentional gold as something like Birdemic or The Room, but it definitely earns its place in the So Bad It's Good movie Hall of Fame. So go watch it now, the link's in the description. As for Dinosaur Island 2, because I know you all want to see it, I got in contact with the director of the movie, @WKDirector on Twitter, and asked him if there was any way I could see it, and his only response was, "Sorry, NIT is not available." So I'm not counting on our chances of ever seeing it, which truly is a shame because I really wanted to see the end of this cinematic masterpiece. The only ways to contact him are through his Twitter and YouTube comments, so if you want to ask him, knock yourself out. And in the slim chance that he's watching this, please, I'm begging you, please release it. There's another movie by the same studio called Rhapsody Street Kids Believe in Santa, which, believe it or not, looks even worse than Dinosaur Island. So if you want to see a follow-up video on that, be sure to tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, it would really help me out if you leave a like. I sincerely appreciate each and every one. Lastly, before I end up, this video took a long time to make. It took hours upon hours of research, scripting, and editing. So as those of you who follow me on Twitter would know, I recently started a Patreon. Of course, you're not obligated to donate, it's completely your choice, but if you want to support this channel a bit more, please consider donating. Every dollar truly does count. If you want to support the channel but don't have the money to donate, then you can share the video on social media or just drop a like. And with that, I will see you next time.
Turns to black, close up to a back, memory lane, pumps up, turn light to red, undone, against my chest, running among my wall.